Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now, I don't usually say this, but this is a figure that I really have been anticipating. Of course, we are talking about Lobo. Now, big time Lobo fan. Of course, he is the last of his race, the Sangarians, and really cool backstory if you look him up. Well, especially the version where he's like a partier, brawler, bounty hunter, pretty much takes any job for money, space traveler. Awesome character. Now he looks pretty fragging cool in his packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Not really needed, but sometimes it does come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. On the front, you do have some figure photography there. And on the back, you do have some information. This is the rebirth version of Lobo. But honestly, I would take any version as long as it's like brawling, psychopathic character that I love. He also does come with one accessory, which is his like rolled up chain with his kind of hook. Kind of like meat hook. Not a big fan of the plastic chain, but for what it is, it does. You can get this on his arm and then get the hook in his hand. That's how I prefer to display it. But pretty cool accessory. I mean, you can always get. There's a link here where if you cut that and then drill a hole, you have a place where you could clip on like a metal ring, and then actually just buy a little piece of thicker metal chain, I guess from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. So I might look into doing that. If I do a complete repaint of him, I'll do a video and then maybe I'll do that custom chain hook accessory. Pretty cool. But let's go ahead and take a look at him. Now, first glances, this is an awesome looking figure. I mean, McFarlane really stepping up the game. The amount of sculpt work that are going into these figures is just awesome. Really appreciate the work that goes into each one of these figures. I mean, honestly, whoever sculpts these, I really would like to know who they are and who works on these. You know, would be pretty awesome. But because, you know, of course, DC Universe Classics, I always knew that it was the Four Horsemen. There's different characters in that group, Cornboy, some other guys, but these are just anonymous, awesome figures that we're getting, but pretty cool looking rendition of Lobo. Pretty sweet. Now let's take a look at the head. Awesome face sculpt. Now, I have to admit, when I did see the early images of this, it looked kind of weird, kind of like one of those like vampires from I'm not sure what movies, but they just have like that certain look where like their brow is like really wrinkled up. It's kind of what it looked like to me in the image, but now getting them in hand, really beautiful sculpt work on this head. Really like the white paint. Didn't really notice it at first, but now when I get it in hand, you can see how that white paint pops off of the face with those red eyes. Really intense looking figure. Great. Let's go ahead and take a look at the articulation now. He does look up, but his hair kind of wants him to look back down, but you can get it up there as long as you push it up. But he has no problem looking down. In fact, he looks down exceptionally well. And then you got left to right, really smooth movement, that ball joint, and then you could cock his head for some attitude, some character. Great job on that head. Moving down, he does have his trademark leather jacket. nice grain that they put on his undershirt. You can feel the texture in there, and you do have some frails and some rips. Pretty cool. Let's check out his waist articulation. You have rocket from side to side. You can turn him. He has the bottom, the lower ball joint turn, and then he does have the upper abdomen turn as well, which allows you to twist him, put him in some cool poses. And then he does lean back a little, but he leans forward really well. Sweet. Take a look at the arms. He does have that butterfly shoulder joint, bicep cut. Could get his arm out 90 degrees and higher. And then he does have double jointed elbows. Moving into his wrists, he has kind of like some wrist guards, wrappings kind of, and then going into his gloves. Pretty nicely sculpted. Just the attention to detail on this is really appreciated. He does have a ball joint for the wrist action. You just have to find it. But it is there. Both hands look the same. Both kind of like a gripping hand. Moving down, look at that belt. Now, this is one thing that I am going to change. I'm going to probably highlight that skull in a little bit shinier silver, and then paint that star red. And you never know what other details will come out. You could do washes, you could add details, you know, whatever your imagination, wherever your imagination takes you, that's where you could do work on these figures and just bring out their full potential. Let's take a look at his thigh swivel. Oh wow, awesome. This guy has really good thigh swivel. I mean, you get a lot of rotation there, and it's really smooth. And then what I love about these is you could turn them and then pick it up and give him the double jointed knees. Straighten them out. He does have up and down on the ankle. Left to right. He does have rocker. You might just have to manipulate it a little bit. And then of course he does have toe articulation. Another beautiful part of this figure is the legs. Look at the skull knee pads there with spikes. You got some shin guards with more spikes. Just like I said before, this figure, I saw it and I was like, that's up there on my list of figures that I really want to get in hand. And now that I do have it in hand, I'm really satisfied, really looking forward to more figures that are coming out. I mean, people are already noticing that McFarlane is just, you know, taking it to another level. Now, there is other things that could be changed. I'm not so sure at a $20 price point if you could, but like more paint details, more alternate hands, pinless joints. I mean, those are all things that I think the further that we could keep the line going, the more things will start like just coming in on their own. Of course, when you first start a line, you have to build up your backlog of like molds, you know. And once you have those molds, then you could start mixing and matching and adding different things. So really hope that we go, you know, a couple more years in the line and see all the beautiful figures that will be released. Now let's go ahead and take a look at them from the bottom. Has some kind of biker boot tread there. Kind of looks like you could put it on a peg, like if you were to get his Space Hog, which would be, you know, a epic dream. And then moving up the back, more beautiful sculpt work. You got some straps there, glossy plastic, but like I said before, you can put a little bit of wash on there to give it some contrast and bring out the sculpt work. And then everybody's favorite part about this figure is, of course, the back patch on his leather jacket. Bite me fanboy, which is typical Lobo, you know, attitude. Not really giving a crap of what anybody thinks. I just like the way it's like weathered and looks like really used and worn. You know, a really nice detail that they added there. Beautiful, beautiful figure. Really happy with him. Now, of course, me, I had to add my own little details. So first thing I did is, I made him a custom blaster. Now I did paint this to added some little details, some red lights in there, a blue, some blue, some silver, and then the brown handle. And actually what I did is on his right hand, I actually split the trigger finger and just moved it a little, and it doesn't change it so much that you could notice it, but it actually allows you to like slip this. There's like a little ridge here on this blaster, and it lets you slip it right in his fingers, and then the trigger finger actually fits right in the little hole for the trigger. So that came out really nice. Now, I did add on the tip, I added this little peg. And the reason I added this peg is to add this like blue effect for like to show like a blast there. If you'd like to. And then it just fits with them. Usually Lobo comes with guns. It depends. It could actually be real handguns or it could be space guns. Just look up different source material and you'll see the different things he uses. Of course, they always show him with that hook, but he does use weaponry as well. And of course, what would Lobo be without his cigar? And this one's pretty interesting because I got a piece of like black, just like fodder, and then I heated up. I cut like the end of a sewing needle, and I heated it up and I stuck it back this way, right? So that melted metal goes into this, and then once it cools down, it locks in there. So now it can't come out. It stays set in there. Then I heated it up with a lighter, and then I formed it to make it like the tip of a cigar. And then I actually heated up the tip of it and smushed it in, which gave it like a little raised fringe, and that was gonna be the coal of the cigar. So then I went ahead and painted it, which was like some dirty brown there for the cigar, and then some gray for the ash, and then red, orange, and a little bit of yellow right in the tip, just to make it a cigar. Now, the cool thing about this is you can either, in the same trigger finger, you can actually slide the little needle like right in there. So then he's actually like holding the cigar like in between his fingers. So you use that little needle like right in between that little gap in between his fingers, and then he could be like holding his cigar. Or since it's like so thin, it's like needle thin, I chose like right at the crook of his mouth, right here, right in the corner. It makes like a little hole, and then you just put it in there. And then he actually has the cigar like right at the corner of his mouth, and it fits right in there, and it actually doesn't cause any kind of cosmetic damage or anything. Like you could pop it out and pop it in, and it's just a little hole right on the edge of his mouth. So then there he is with his cigar and his blaster, looking pretty tough. Now I do have some other Lobo figures to compare him with. Now first, I do have Dog, which is, his mascot. Pretty cool little figure with articulation in the neck. And then I do have the DC Universe Classics Comic-Con exclusive Lobo. He's really big. Not too much of a size difference. I mean, it's very small, but this is also an awesome figure. You just look at all the detail. Now this one was done by the Four Horsemen. Of course, he has his blaster here on the side. It's kind of like a space blaster, pretty, looks really good. But, there you got a comparison of the old school DCUC. And then, of course, I also have the Mattel Collect to Connect Lobo figure, which is obviously a little bit smaller. This guy did use the KGB Beast body mold, but he does come with that cool chain accessory with his hook. So there's just another version of Lobo. But all in all, really happy with this figure. Really tempted to do a full repaint on him. Love the little accessories I was able to add for him, and he looks really fantastic. Really happy with what's going on with McFarlane. We're getting over that hump, and we're starting to, see the promised land of all the cool figures that are coming out. You guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.